Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, that connection is over. It's over with. But before we get to that, let's get to that intro.
This is PZ Music.
Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report. I am Tommy. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell because I always forget to tell you. Anyways, guys, man, Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs, man, that bromance, that connection, it's over with. It's over with.
That's brilliant.
It's not over with. Stop all that nonsense that I'm hearing all over the internet. All these national sports media guys that are throwing that garbage out there. Listen, I keep telling y'all, okay, there ain't no issue between Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. Has Stefon Diggs handled the situation correctly? No. Right? Do I like what he did in the playoffs when he went in Josh's face and threw his hands up? No. Unacceptable. I don't think you should show out any coach, any player, right, on your team, on the field, on the sideline. You don't do that. You do that behind closed doors. If you have something to say, you do it, you do it behind closed doors. But that doesn't mean Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs has had this big problem, brewing for, since Stefon Diggs has arrived. And the stats will prove otherwise, and I'll go through all that. But let's hear a quick little video snippet here of RG3, who clearly knows nothing. But we'll go ahead and play that anyways.
Since he got to Buffalo, he's tied for first in catches with Devontae Adams. He's sixth in receiving touchdowns, and he's fourth in the league in receiving yards. So,
boy, quite interesting. Tied with Devontae Adams, right? Right. He's like pretty much top 5 receivers since he's been in Buffalo, right? So how unhappy can Stefon Diggs be? Let's just throw that out there right away, right? Not to mention he's gotten paid big money, right? I'm just throwing that out there. All right, so let's continue. So obviously he's gotten with the right team and the right quarterback to get him these yards, get him these touchdowns, to get him these receptions. Just throwing that out there.
That's a happy Stefon Diggs. Him and Josh Allen seem to have a bromance rolling. Right. It felt like for years there until there was the problem with their game against the Bengals in the playoffs. So I think it's clear this is a personal thing between Josh and Diggs, and they have to get their partnership back on the field, and that's part of playing quarterback. I think Josh Allen's running into that right now. Everything is fine until it's not fine in a relationship when it comes to a quarterback and a wide receiver like Diggs. So Josh has to manage that relationship the right way, and I think he's the only one that can rectify it.
Okay. So all of a sudden there's a playoff loss, and now Stefon Diggs and Josh Allen, that's it. The connection is over with. And, hey, we're going to have to go ahead and ship out Stefon Diggs because major problems here between Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. One game, that's it. It's over with. The bromance, it's over. Not to mention, Josh has to be the one, according to RG3, to get things back on track with Stefon Diggs. Listen, this is not a Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs problem. Okay? It's not. This is a coaching problem. Okay? I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what the national media says, right? What even other Bills content creators may be saying. I don't know. I'm not really up to date on everyone else's comments, about the situation. However, me personally, I think this is a coaching problem. Stefon Diggs wants to win. right? Just like Josh Allen, just like all the other players on that team, right? This is a team game, right? There's only one thing they want, and that's a Super Bowl, okay? It's frustrating when you have a good team in place for many seasons and you don't get the job done. And that is where the frustration is with Stefon Diggs, okay? You want to take this all the way back to 2020 when Stefon Diggs arrived in Buffalo. And you want to take that screenshot or that, you just go ahead, you can remember it, of the Chiefs game, of the AFC Championship game when he was the last person to leave that field that day. Sean McDermott had to go get him, right? It's an iconic, picture of him just with the confetti dropping down and him just soaking it in, right? Because he wants that bad. He wants that feeling. And every player does, right? That's their goal as a kid. For these football players, you want to go to a Super Bowl, right? So I understood that, and I respected the hell out of Stefon Diggs for that, right? It showed me, like, man, this dude has nothing but love for the game. He wants that Super Bowl badly. You know what I mean? That's just, I get it. And 2021 came, right? We all know what happened in 2021, right? 13 seconds, right? We lose to the Chiefs again, right? And a game that should have been won. Was that a Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs problem? No. Was 2020 a Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs problem? No. That was coaching. In 2020, we just got our asses beat, right? Plain old. Listen, Sean McDermott didn't do a good job. Brian Dable, offensive coordinator, did not do a good job. Leslie Frazier did not do a good job. That was a total team loss by coaches, by players combined, right? But coaching really ultimately failed us in 2020. And then go to 2021, you can't really blame the players. They did everything they could. But you could blame the coaching staff for what they did, the meltdown. You could blame Leslie Frazier. You could blame Sean McDermott. Unacceptable, 13 seconds. The defense that was called. I understand the frustration by Stefon Diggs because Stefon Diggs did his part. Gabe Davis did his part. Josh Allen did his part, right? The coaching staff failed. Okay? And that's okay. It happens. I get it. Then 2022 comes along. There's a lot that happened that a lot of people just seem to ignore. The off-season stuff, right? The tragedy, the heartbreak, all that. Man, I'm not going to go through every single thing, but y'all know. It's no big secret. Then the injuries, which, by the way, didn't happen to this Buffalo Bills team in 2020. Didn't happen to this Buffalo Bills team in 2021. It happened in 2022. It was just a string of bad luck, starting with Jordan Poyer in camp, then Micah Hyde week 2, right? Then you got Josh Allen getting hurt. Then Jordan Poyer, by the way, is still getting hurt throughout the season. He's missing games. Not to mention Gabe Davis getting hurt. He wasn't the same for the rest of the season. Okay? Then Von Miller going out for the rest of the year. But I think Josh Allen's UCL injury, the elbow injury, is one that's really overlooked. Got injured against the Jets late in the game, right? He had to change his mechanics going forward for the rest of the season. I don't think that pain really kicked in until after that Vikings game, to be honest with you. The Vikings game he wound up playing, he was supposed to miss. He threw for, I think 40-something times, right? You would think that they would ease him, maybe run the ball a little bit more. And that's a Ken Dorsey thing. That's a Sean McDermott thing too. He's the head coach. Don't always point the finger at the OC, right? The head coach is just as responsible. And that's the problem with having a defensive-minded head coach. He doesn't really know offense, right? It's not his side of the ball. Okay, so then after that, that's where Josh Allen kind of dips off a little bit, right? You kind of see the change. But he's doing everything he can, right? And I want to show you something here. I want to show you a little bit of Stefon Diggs' stats here, just to kind of get you an idea here of how Stefon Diggs' career has gone in Buffalo since he's arrived, okay? So here we go. In Minnesota, you guys can see. So 903 yards his rookie year, 849, 1,021 in 2018, 1,130 in 20. So he's starting to pick up as a player. 2019, 1,130. Now he gets to Buffalo in 2020. Best season as an NFL player, right? 1,535 yards, 8 touchdowns, right? Really, really good. 127 receptions. Great season for Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen. They had a connection right away, clearly, right? That's phenomenal, right? 2021 comes along, 17 games. By the way, look at the games played. So 2021, you know why he played 17 games? It's because 2021, we only won the division by 1 game, and it was needed in that final game. Well, we went ahead and handled our business and won the AFC East against New England. Now, he had 103 receptions, 1,225 yards. So he actually was a little bit of a dip, right, in 2021. By the way, this is under Brian Dable. 11.9, by the way, on the average, right? 10 touchdowns. So his touchdowns went up. Now, here, under Ken Dorsey in 2022, last year, he had, in 16 games played, 108 receptions. So he actually did better in receptions than he did in 2021 with less games. Had 154 targets compared to 164. By the way, if he played 17 games, he would have matched that, right? He had 1,429 yards receiving, which was better than 2021. His average per catch was better, 13.2 than it was in 2021, than it was in 2020. He also had 11 touchdowns, which was better than 2021 and 2020. So overall, 2022, Stefon Diggs had a pretty good season. It's actually second best season of his career. Now, if you want to go through the game logs, okay, we could do that. So here's the start of the season, right? 122 yards, 8 receptions, 148 yards, 12 receptions, 7 receptions versus the Dolphins, 74 yards. Baltimore, 62 yards, 102, 148, 108. I'll go through this quick. 93. Now, here's where Josh Allen gets hurt, and here's where things kind of take a little dip. So after this Jets game, the Minnesota game where Josh threw for like 40-something times, he still had a good game, 128. Now, here's a little dip off. Now, you got the Cleveland game, right? 48 yards, four receptions, right? Not good. 8 receptions versus Detroit, 77 yards. 7 receptions versus New England, 92 yards. 3 receptions versus the Jets, 37 yards. 5 receptions versus the Dolphins, 60 yards. 2 receptions versus the Bears, 26 yards. 7 receptions for 104 yards in the final game against the Patriots. Now, in the playoffs, this is where Josh Allen started to actually feel a little better. And this was, he actually told this, I believe it was Chris Sims or was it Rich Eisen? I forget one of the other, but he had told them that he's starting to finally feel better. Like his arm is starting to finally feel like how it was the start of the season. And you can kind of see these, right? So look at Stefon Diggs' numbers here in this game. So 7 receptions, right? Targeted 9 times, which is fine. 114 yards. It's a very good game. Can't complain. Now here's the Bengals game. 4 receptions, right? 10 targets though. So he was targeted 10 times. 35 yards. Not a good game. But that was a total team loss. 27-10. Now, I want to go to Josh Allen's stats too as well and throughout the season, just to kind of show you the little ups and downs there that Josh had as well. So here's Josh Allen stats throughout his career. Now, when Stefon Diggs arrived in 2020, look at that completion percentage. Look at the yards. Wow. I mean, a major jump from 58.8% completion to 69.2%. 4,544 yards, 37 touchdowns, compared to 20. I mean, that was a major jump. Then 2021, 63.3, 4,407. In 2022, right, 63.3, the exact same completion percentage the year before, 4,283, okay? Mind you, he missed the game because the Buffalo Bills they didn't get to play the Cincinnati game. Pretty much, right? That game we all know what happened. So his stats from last season were pretty much identical to the stats in 2021. You can also look at the interceptions throughout his career. In 2020, he had 10. In 2021, he had 15. In 2022, he had 14. So pretty much the same interception rate in 2021 and 2022. There's nothing that really changed here. Touchdowns, 35. In 2021, he had 36. His average was actually better in 2022 at 7.6 compared to 2021, 6.8. So he actually, listen, even the quarterback rating at 96.6 compared to 92.2 in 2021, pretty much the same, but actually a little bit better in 2022. So overall, I mean, Josh Allen had a good year. Okay. Now, these interceptions I don't really like. Okay. I think he needs to improve on that. But I also think some of those are caused by some of the receivers as well. Now, if you look at here as early on in his stats, start off with the Rams, 297, 317 versus Tennessee, 400. 213 versus Baltimore, which is a good defense. Then you have 424 against Pittsburgh, 329 against KC, 218 versus Green Bay, 205 versus the Jets, 330 versus Minnesota. Now here's where it dips off a little bit, right? Now this is where I think his arm's really starting to hurt a little bit here. So if you got, after that Minnesota game, you got to remember that Minnesota game was the first game after his elbow injury. He threw for 43 times. I mean, he should have been used a lot less as far as throwing wise. They had Allen out there throwing like crazy right away, right? Then he comes out versus Cleveland. You can see they took it down a notch here. So he went down to 27 attempts, right? So 197 yards. You can kind of see, I could kind of tell he was hurting there. I actually went to that game. Allen just was not the same Allen, right? You could tell something was bugging him, and that's obviously was his elbow. Then you got the Detroit game. He comes back, throws 42 times, 253 yards. Still not very good. Then you got the New England game, 223 yards at 33 attempts. Look at the Jets game, 147, 27 attempts. Then you can see where he's starting to maybe get a little bit better towards the end here. Then you got the Miami game, 304 yards. By the way, he didn't throw a 300-yard game since the Minnesota game up until that point. So 1, 2, 3. So 3 games under 300 yards, right? Finally gets 300 yards against Miami at home. Then he goes against the Bears, only 172. By the way, that Bears game, we ran a lot more in that game. And I think that was by design. And then you got the New England game to finish out the season, 19-31 for 254. So then you got the playoff game. Now, the playoff game, 23-39 for 352 yards. You can see he's starting to feel a little bit better here. Then you got the Cincinnati game in the snow in Buffalo. He throws for 42 times, 264 yards. It's a bad game. 1 interception, no touchdowns, 59.5 completion percentage. So, listen, here's the deal. Last year, a lot of things happened. Once again, okay? There's a lot to take in if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, and if you actually watched all of these games, you will understand what led us to that Cincinnati game, how we got there, and what was going on, right? A lot of things that a lot of people ignore, okay? Once again, a ton of injuries, okay? Now, I understand Ken Dorsey, he gets a lot of criticism for not being, he's not creative enough, right? But you also got to understand what personnel he's working with, right? A lot of the receivers last year, except for Stefon Diggs, had a rough year. Gabe Davis, who was supposed to be, was actually his first year as a number 2 for us, had an underwhelming year. I didn't think it was terrible. He still winded up with like 840 yards receiving, but he got hurt early on. His catch percentage is still in the 50s, right? I think it was like 55%. Unacceptable. Got to get that higher, right? Then we had Crowder, who was signed, who got his ankle broke I think it was week 2 or week 3, right? He's out for the season. Then Isaiah McKenzie has to take on that role as slot, and he's just not a pure slot. So that's a problem. Then you got our offensive line who can't block, so now you have to use Dawson Knox, who was a really good tight end for us the year before, actually was tied with Kelsey with 9 touchdowns, was barely used because he was blocking most of this season to help out because the offensive line was so poor. Then we had to go out and get John Brown and Cole Beasley because we had no weapons to help Josh Allen. Josh Allen had no security blanket. When things broke down, Stefon Diggs was double teamed. Josh Allen usually could go to Cole Beasley, right? Well, Cole Beasley wasn't on this team in 2022. Well, guess what? We went out and picked him up. But was it the same Cole Beasley? No, right? We picked him up like week, 15? We picked John Brown up, who didn't play football for like the last 3 seasons. People forget this. This wasn't a great wide receiver unit. There wasn't a lot of options for Josh Allen. We traded Zach Moss because we had no other running backs to help out Devin Singletary, right? Then James Cook had to be that guy, the rookie, who actually had a better second half. I have faith in James Cook. I really do. I think James Cook can have a good year this year if used correctly. But anyways, there was a lot of things going on personnel-wise on this team that kind of hurt this offense and hurt the way that Ken Dorsey was calling the offense, right? Everybody needs to do their job. When the players aren't doing their job, you can only do so much as a coordinator. You can only listen, it's his job to call the plays, but they have to execute. And when they don't execute, the play looks like garbage. But that being said, yes, I do agree that Ken Dorsey does need to be a little bit more creative, especially going into this season now that we have new additions that can help this offense, like the offensive line, right? We got McGovern, got Osiris Torrance in the draft, right? You got Brandon Shell, who's competing now, who's a good, reliable backup, or even a starting right tackle if Spencer Brown can't hold down the spot, right? We've added depth to the offensive line. Then the wide receiver room, though it's a question mark, we still got some good potential talent there. Much better than last season, in my opinion. You got a Trent Sherfield, who had a really good season for the Dolphins, right? You got Gabe Davis, who, yes, even if, let's say, hypothetically, Gabe Davis catch percentage still stays at 55, 60%, he's still going to get you 800, 900 yards, right? Then you add Trent Sherfield, who had 500 almost last year. Then that's an extra 500, right? Then you got Dawson Knox, who I believe will be used more in this offense now that the offensive line is better, should get back on track. Then you got Dalton Kincaid, right, who should really help out with this offense. Will he have a breakout rookie year? I don't think so, but we'll see. He's going to tight end university. Hopefully that will help him. So the offense on paper looks a lot better than it did last year. So we should all see a little bit better play calling from Ken Dorsey as far as creativity goes. Now, back on Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen. Everybody has all these and it's funny, here's another one. I do want to play this one more. And it's just, this guy's a trip, right? So this guy claims that it was for the reason why Josh Allen's mad is because he restructured to get D-Hop, right, in the building, which is ridiculous because players don't have the say on who the GM signs when they restructure. Now, they could say, hey, I'm doing this because you're trying to get and I'm sure they're honest with them and saying, yeah, man, we need to add players to help out with this offense. But they can't promise a player. They can't tell Stefon Diggs this is going to be used for DeAndre Hopkins. And this guy like I said, once again, these national media guys are throwing everything out there. And it's just kind of funny to me. It's like they're just trying to get something to stick in the scene if they're right.
I kind of feel he's being like a little petty. With all the chirping a little bit, man. He plays on a great offense. He has a
They're a
great
Super Bowl
quarterback.
caliber
They're a
team.
Super Bowl caliber team, and I think that if he has any issues with the offense or Josh Allen, put those guys in the room and iron out whatever they got going on.
Supposedly they tried to do that.
So they can go into the season, with a fresh start, clear minds, and actually trying to, beat the two top teams in the AFC.
The Jets and the Chiefs. I'm with you on that.
The Jets and the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
I gotcha.
So clearly this guy is a Jets fan, this Carton guy, which I never even heard of this guy until last week when I did the Stefon Diggs video. But in a way, I believe that was Plaxico. In a way, he's kind of right where Stefon Diggs should get together with, and I think he should get together with Ken Dorsey, Josh Allen. I think just the offensive side of the ball. And if McDermott wants to be there, fine. But this is, I think, like I said, once again, this is a coaching problem, really. And it's not even a problem. I think Stefon Diggs at this point, entering, 2020, entering this fourth season as a Buffalo Bill, right? He wants a Super Bowl. He believes in this team. He sees that this team has the players to do it. But why are we getting stuck somewhere in the mud in the playoffs? Why are we hitting a wall? And I think that's really ultimately what is bugging him, what is bothering him. And it's funny when other teams, like other people are like, oh, go come play for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. You really think Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Josh Allen? Like, come on, stop. I don't even think Cowboys fans can say that right now. That's just not true. Josh Allen is a top 5 quarterback. He does everything for this team. Listen, he runs, he throws, he puts his body on the line. Nobody works harder than Josh Allen as a quarterback, in my opinion. Like, that dude, like, he'll die out there on the field. No, I'm just being honest with you. Like, that's the passion he has for this Buffalo Bills football team and football in general. Like, he wants to do whatever he'll do whatever it has to take to get the first down. He'll do whatever it has to take to win a football game, right? And I believe that's the case for Stefon Diggs as well. I think Stefon Diggs has passion, and I just think sometimes that passion, it gets the best of him. And I think sometimes he overreacts. And last year, mid-season, you kind of started seeing Stefon Diggs overreacting on some things, and he really wasn't understanding the full aspect of everything. He didn't understand that Josh Allen was in a ton of pain. And maybe Josh Allen didn't really tell him this either. And that's why maybe there is some kind of communication thing that they need to, and Plaxico may be right. Maybe they do need to talk this out and say, hey, because this is what happened last year, and this is probably why we were a little bit set back on offense towards the second half of the season. My elbow wasn't the best. I was had to change my mechanics, right? Ken Dorsey could say, hey, listen, this is what we had on offense. This is what we have next to you last year, but this is what we have this year, and I believe this is what we can do. Say once again, I don't think Stefon Diggs is angry at Josh Allen. I don't think this is a problem between, quarterback and receiver. Now, I will say, are they best friends? No, I think that thing was blown out of proportion. I think the media took that in 2020, and Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs rode with it, and that's okay. But are they off the same? Are they not on the same page? Is the bromance over? Is there problems? Are they fighting behind closed doors? Like, no, they're not. They're definitely on the same page. Clearly, I showed you the stats to prove they're on the same page because the numbers are the exact same as they were the past 3 seasons, pretty much, if not better. He had the most touchdowns he ever had in his career. So clearly, Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs have a connection going, right? It's just, what can we do in 2023 to get to the Super Bowl? And I think that's what Stefon Diggs wants to know. Like, that, I really truly believe that. That's what he wants. How is this offense going to improve? And how can we win a Super Bowl? Right? What is going to change in 2023 to make this unit the best it can be? What can we do to get better in the playoffs when we face better teams? right? That's probably what he wants to know. Sean McDermott, what's your thoughts? What do you plan on doing as a head coach to make this team better? Right? Ken Dorsey, what's your thoughts? The new wide receiver coach, I wish I remember his name. I apologize. What's your thoughts on this year? Maybe that's all he wanted to say. And maybe they took it the wrong way. First day of minicamp, everything's going on, right? It's the first day. Maybe they should have had that conversation months ago, right? And maybe Sean McDermott was so overwhelmed with first day of camp that he was a little high-strung, and maybe Stefon Diggs was a little high-strung, and it just wasn't a very good meeting. And that's what happened. And listen, even I was a little, I got a little over the top with it, right? Last week when Stefon Diggs didn't show up first day of minicamp. I'll admit that. I was not a happy camper. But I also say, I still don't think he handled the situation correctly. And I don't think Sean McDermott handled correctly either. Or Brandon Beane. I think they all didn't handle it correctly, right? I think this should have been handled months ago when they saw the writing on the wall that Stefon Diggs was not happy midway through the season. And it carried on into that last game. And I think that's when they should have had that talk. I'm just saying. So, but as far as like Josh Allen, Stefon Diggs not getting along, or Stefon Diggs is angry at Josh and wants to go play for another quarterback, why would he? Why? He's had his best career stats playing with Josh Allen. It makes zero sense. Josh Allen also is a great guy. He's never thrown Stefon Diggs under the bus. There's quarterbacks in this league that have thrown other players under the bus. Aaron Rodgers. Just throwing that out there. Josh Allen has never thrown a player or a coach under the bus. Never. He's always talked good about them. Even when media was talking bad about him, didn't even matter. He didn't even talk bad about Kelvin Benjamin when he should have. And he didn't, because that's not the kind of player he is. And you think Stefon Diggs would want to go test out another quarterback? I don't believe that's true. I don't. And by the way, the Buffalo Bills aren't trading Stefon Diggs anytime soon. It's not happening, right? They're not going to lose all that money in dead cap space. It's just not going to happen. So anyways, guys, Bills Mafia, I love you. And as always, go Bills. And I'm out of here. Peace.